Hello there 5'9 trainers, my name is Waffles the Asian Yanber and welcome back to another Pokemon Unite video. Today we're tackling a pretty important decision your whole team needs to make early on in your Pokemon Unite games. Which mini-boss should you prioritize? Drednaw or Rotom? We're diving in deep today to compare the pros and cons of each one, but before we do that, make sure to leave a like on the video if you're excited to learn more about Pokemon Unite and subscribe to the 5'9 channel if you want to keep up to date with all our Unite content. You can also find a playlist linked down in the description below where we've covered how to use a bunch of different characters and some new Pokemon that are coming soon to Pokemon Unite. Now, onto the video. So if you're unfamiliar, or to refresh some of you, both Rotom and Drednaw are mini-bosses that spawn in each lane of Remorat Stadium, the standard 5v5 map. Rotom spawns in the middle of the top lane above the Combees, and Drednaw spawns in the middle of the bottom lane under those Combees. Each have very different benefits you get for beating them, but they both spawn at exactly the 7-minute marker. That's 3 minutes after your game has begun. Because they pop up at the same time, players will need to choose which one they should go for first so that the whole team can move to take it. Dreadnaw and Rotom have 2-minute respawn timers, but they start after each individual mon gets KO'd, so they will be on separate timers later on. Both can be very impactful to the game, but let's talk about specifically what each of them can give you. Rotom gives all players on the team that capture it a moderate amount of XP and 14 Eos energy to the player who got the last hit. Rotom then begins to move towards the enemy goal that's closest to it on the top lane, and if it makes it there, it immediately scores your team 20 points and makes it so that all scoring on that goal is instant for 15 seconds, which can allow you to dunk a whole lot of points. However, it is an if because Rotom has a health bar and can be beaten before it reaches the goal. Players who want to utilize Rotom will need to escort it to the tower and stop enemy players from beating it. Although, it is a pretty valid strategy to just use Rotom as a distraction to move enemy players to the top lane while you take important points in the jungle or bottom lane. Rotom's primary benefit is the ultimatum that you give your enemies. They need to go defend their lane or you get to dunk a whole lot of points on them. Win-win. When it comes to Drednaw, it's almost the reverse and applies pressure in a different way. Every player on the team that captures Drednaw gets a big chunk of XP and a shield worth approximately 15% of your max HP. The player who gets the last hit also earns 20 Eos energy. In return, Drednaw disappears and doesn't walk towards any of the goals. While the shield seems helpful and does allow teams to push a little bit further, the main draw of Drednaw is the mass amount of XP players can earn, as it lets the whole team get ahead in the resource game. So who's better? Well, we'd argue Drednaw. Because of the way Zapdos and other comeback mechanics work in this game, a point loss early on is very possible to come back from. The real struggle in Unite is more about your levels. The reason why dying is such a problem for your team is that you lose out on crucial XP that you could be farming while your enemy not only gets to take your XP, but also pull ahead of you in the race. Now, Drednaw giving as much XP as it does allows your team to leap ahead and then snowball that lead in every single team fight moving forward. A lead like that means you can win a lot more 1v1s, you have access to more of your abilities or better versions of them, you can be your evolved form, you can even be bolder, and you can take some of your enemy's resources with that shield so that they have a harder time catching up. The first Drednaw fight is crucial in trying to get ahead quickly while a lot of other players are still in their weakest form. In the early game, that can be the difference between a third stage evolution versus a second stage, a Talonflame versus a Charmeleon. In fact, this is so important that we'd actually recommend completely abandoning your top lane and sending every player to fight for Drednaw. That lead is such a big deal. Plus, Rotom is a delayed effect, so even if the enemy player sneaks off to steal Rotom, you can just wait a little bit. You finish getting your Drednaw boost, then the top laners can run up and defend against the Rotom. On top of that, the more players on the enemy team that's trying to take your top lane, the less players are contesting Drednaw, and it makes it easier for you to take it and get that early game XP. So your whole team is at Drednaw. What do? Well, first, hopefully you headed there a little bit early so you can hide in the patches of grass. If you didn't, be very careful. There may just be an enemy team waiting to ambush you. If you did arrive first, wait in the grass for the enemy to engage. You're ignoring Drednaw for now because of the last hit rule. If you're already fighting Drednaw when the enemy team comes for you, it's easy to take you out and steal Drednaw, or one enemy player can just wait for you to get Drednaw low, rush in, and get the last hit, which essentially renders your effort worthless. So wait for the players who come to fight you and take them out first. Since your entire team is there, hopefully you can just gang up on each of them and finish them. When the coast is clear, everyone should go to start weakening Drednaw. Once you get it pretty low, tanks and supports should back off into the grass or go towards the enemy goal. The reason for this is that they aren't really doing damage, but they can keep an eye out for enemies coming to steal the kill. Someone like Snorlax can put up the wall and keep them away while the rest of your teammates finish it off. So you got Drednaw and you have a nice shield. What do? Well, first, take their first bottom lane goal because it's close and should be easy enough with all of you there. After that, you have some options and it depends on what you want to do and what your role is. Top laners should probably head back up there, possibly with a pit stop back at the base to heal, as your enemies may be pushing the top lane. The whole team could go with them if they want to initiate a push to take the first top lane tower. Others may try pushing for the bottom lane's second tower, however, this is usually a mistake and we wouldn't recommend it in the early game. Since the respawn timers are so low early on, it's easy for enemy players to die, respawn, and just hop back into their goal zone. They can keep fighting in their goal zone until they take you down, so it's usually a fruitless effort and a waste of your time. However, we would recommend pushing to take their resources instead. When the first goal is defeated, Audinos will spawn on the side of the lane. If you're ahead, try taking one or two of those instead before clearing out of there. You could also try sneaking into their jungle and stealing the Ludicolo and Bouffalant buffs. Any resources that you can take from your enemies just makes it harder for them to come back. And just remember that your primary goal with Drednaw isn't the shield, it's the XP. Once you've beaten Drednaw, your job is done. You could even just go back to farming your lane and defending. Everything after taking the first Drednaw is about making sure your opponents can't come back. Deny them farm, stop them from taking Zapdos. You have the power, it's in your hands, so don't waste it and don't let them catch up. Now what do you do if you're on the other side? You lost the fight over Drednaw because your Eldegoss was off soloing Rotom for some reason. Well, all is not lost, but it is much harder. You need to focus on farming and catching up. Don't worry about the points right now. If the enemy team pushes too far, you need to work together to punish them for it. You need to be teaming up and pressuring the opponents so they keep having to back up. If you're in a lane with multiple enemies, you need to fight under your tower and just poke and prod them as much as you can. Waste their time, steal last hits if you're able to. Your goal is basically to be ready for Zapdos. It's likely that your team is going to get pushed a lot through the course of the match unless they can steal the next Drednaw, but if you all work together and get Zapdos, you can easily come back with the instant double point dunks. So while Rotom is slow and inefficient, Drednaw has a really strong and immediate impact, especially in the early game. We highly recommend prioritizing Drednaw over Rotom as it will really help your team a lot. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching, and don't forget to check out that playlist for more Pokemon Unite content. It'll be down in the description below. We'll be back soon with some more info, so make sure to hit that sub button if you want to stay notified of all our content, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.